Dear my sweet baby, today you are 18 days old. 3 weeks ago, we went into the hospital to jumpstart your arrival. Thursday, May 23rd. That morning, your dad got up and got ready for work. He was annoyed with me, which upset me because of how anxious I was already feeling. Your grandpa and TT Bear were on their way down from Fargo. I was going to leave to pick them up at 11, but their bus got in early. I was happy to see them. Once we got back to the apartment, we gathered all the laundry. There was a lot of it, and I wanted it all done before you got here. Grandpa and TT Bear were a big help. I was definitely too pregnant to do all of that alone. $35, and an hour later, we were back at the house. Your dad was home now, too. While him and Grandpa chatted, TT Bear and I folded and put away clothes. While doing that, I also packed our go bags, made sure I had what I needed for me and for you. For you, mainly just had to make sure we had your coming home outfit. We FaceTimed your TT Haley. She was checking to see how I was feeling. Although I was staying busy, I was so anxious and watching that clock. We stopped folding clothes for now because we wanted to take maternity pictures while it was still light out. But first, I needed to get waxed. TT Bear and I left to go do that and also stop at the main office to pick up your pack and play. That was one of my friends got for us. Once we got back to the house, I opened and put it together right away. I'm just so excited for you, of course, but also this pack and play, LOL, is super cute. It was one of the main things I really wanted off the registry after your stroller. Once it was up, I got changed and wet my hair to make it look halfway decent. Then TT Bear and I went outside to take lots of pictures. The mini shoot was nice because it relaxed me a little, but the time was passing and I was getting more and more anxious as the day went on. I had to call the labor and delivery unit at the hospital at 6 p.m. to find out when they wanted us to come in. We ordered pizza for dinner because I needed to eat before getting to the hospital since dinner would be over by then. We finished putting the clothes away and cleaning up the house. Like an hour goes by and our food still wasn't here, and we were all hungry. I checked my email and it said our order was canceled. What the fuck? Now your dad is upset and I am annoyed. He calls and they say they no longer deliver to our complex. That information would have been nice to know 40 minutes ago because I have to eat before we get to the hospital, and now I am really, really hungry. Your TT Bear washes my hair. It always feels better when someone else does it. Then, bam, it's 6 p.m. Time for me to make that call. I anxiously, hands shaking and all, call labor and delivery to find out when I should check in. The nurse I spoke with said to come in at 8 p.m. So then TT Bear and I left to go pick up pizza because we still needed to eat and there was nothing in the house. We got back to the house, she braided my hair, and we ate. I cleaned up from dinner, and before I knew it, it was 7:30 and time to go. I had knots in my stomach. I was scared, excited, and everything in between. I grabbed our bag and all climbed into the car and were off, trying to breathe and not freak out. Unfortunately, we got pulled over as soon as we pulled onto the highway, and that didn't help my nerves at all. It definitely didn't help your dad's nerves either. He hates hospitals and cops, so obviously that put him in a foul mood. Got to the hospital and got checked in. We settled into our room, and so it began. They gave me a hospital gown to put on, and I remember just looking at it like it was a disease or something. I was still trying to wrap my head around the fact that I was pregnant, never mind in the hospital getting ready to have you. The nurse came in to get my vitals and put in my IV. Ouch. That needle was huge. Apparently, they used such a big needle to make it easier after delivery if I needed blood. The doctor came in. He was a resident, tall and awkward. He checked my cervix to see where we were starting from, and oh my God, that was super uncomfortable. It didn't hurt like ouch, but it definitely didn't feel good. And to think that's what we were going to have to do every time made me cringe a little. Although we've been having contractions for a week now, we were not dilated at all. That fact frustrated me a little, but that's okay. My spirits were high. They decided to start with this vaginal tablet called cytochrome. It was supposed to increase the frequency of the contractions and hopefully soften and dilate the cervix. It did one of those. We were contracting every 2 to 3 minutes, but only dilated to half a centimeter. So disappointing. The contractions were also a lot stronger now. At this point, I had to stop and concentrate on breathing through them, whereas before, I just knew they were happening. It was fun. Painful, but yes, also exciting, because it meant things were moving along. Slowly, obviously, but moving. So because the contractions were frequent and regular, they didn't give me another dose. The next step was this medication called cytomel. It was some kind of strain that they inserted vaginally. This one was supposed to help soften and dilate the cervix. Can be left in for up to 12 hours. They also started to give me cytotec orally. Your TT Bear and I decided to go for a walk. We couldn't leave the labor and delivery floor because I was on the monitors. The labor and delivery floor was small, though, and oddly shaped, so it wasn't the best kind of walking, but definitely better than laying in that room. At some point, I realized this was going to be a while, and that made me kind of sad. For whatever reason, I assumed being induced made this a faster process. I went in Thursday believing I'd be holding you in my arms in the next 24 hours. Boy, was I wrong. Your dad was still in the mood, which bothered me, but one, I understood, and two, I have to keep a positive attitude. I did not want you born on a negative note. Attitude or not, he stayed close. He did not want to miss the birth of his baby girl. I didn't want him to miss it either, but he was so not mentally present. Your grandpa and TT Bear were amazing support, keeping me calm, distracted, and helping me through the pain, just being my solid center the whole time. After the fact, I wondered if he would have been different if they weren't there. I asked him once we got home and settled if that was the case, and he said yes, so maybe next time. I told him he could leave and come back, but he said no. Later on, once we were home, he told me that he felt like we were trying to kick him out, and that made him sad, which made me sad because that wasn't it at all. I was just trying to be considerate of his needs. Here we are Friday evening, and you are still not here. I haven't yet gotten impatient, though. Still just super excited. I accidentally pulled the cytomel out. Oops. It hasn't yet been 12 hours, shake my head. I called the nurse in, and she said that it wasn't that big a deal. They checked to see how dilated we were, and we were only at 1.5 centimeters. Deep sigh. The doctors just keep saying it's a process. The body doesn't like being rushed. Blah, blah, blah. Now we've been here almost 24 hours and at this point. So time for the next step in the process, which was what they called balloons, aka a catheter. This was a device they put into the cervix, then inflate the balloon to apply more pressure. There are two balloons, and one sits in the cervix and the other in the vagina. The vaginal balloon can only be inflated for 12 hours, and the cervix one for 24 hours. All right, let's go. The resident used the speculum to allow for better sight lines. Oh my God, talk about pressure, pain, and pure discomfort. I was crying, but trying so hard not to tense up because that would only make it harder. Your grandpa was holding my hand, wiping my tears, and telling me how good I was doing. I couldn't take it. It hurt so much. The attending tried, figuring she had more experience, but nope, it hurt just as bad, and they weren't able to get them placed. They stopped and decided to go get the OB team so they could try. I was glad they stopped trying because I literally felt like I was dying. We also decided that they'd bring the nitrous oxide gas to see if it'll help with the pain. The OB team arrived with the gas, and here we go with attempt number 2. I used the gas. Shaking, I put the mask to my face and took a deep breath. It made me so very lightheaded, so much so I couldn't hear everyone around me anymore. They all sounded muffled and distorted. Unfortunately, I could still feel the pain through and between the gas. I started throwing up, not really able to move. Throwing up was so hard. The doctor finally got it placed and inflated. I was still throwing up. Throwing up during a contraction was not easy, but I couldn't control either. Lord have mercy, my body was definitely angry. I finally stopped throwing up and asked for the morphine and Visco to help me sleep. I was in pain, tired, and just so done with the day, and just wanted to sleep. Apparently, I was out within minutes and slept good, according to Grandpa and TT Bear. This cook catheter was supposed to fall out on its own once it became dilated, about 3 to 4 centimeters. Now here we are, Saturday, May 21st, and you're still not here. At this point, Mom's getting a little frustrated and impatient because I feel like my body just isn't doing what it needs to do for you to be here. I moved around a lot this day. I sat and played with the ball, went for a few walks, cleaned up the room, and still the catheter did not come out, which upset me because that meant we weren't dilated to at least a 3. Grandpa cleaned the room. He wiped stuff down, swept and mopped. He even sprayed one of his essential oils, made it feel fresh and clean again. 7 o'clock came, and it's time to take the quick catheter out. They checked to see if we made any progress, and we did. We made it to 4.5 centimeters. Yay! I was so happy. The doctor came in to discuss what's next. He said we could go home and come back in a couple days to start all over if you hadn't come on your own yet, or we could start the Pitocin. The Pitocin was going to intensify the contractions. There was no way we were going home after all of this with no baby. So we went ahead with the Pitocin. At some point earlier in the day, your dad and Titi Bear went home to take care of baby. Your dad stayed home since we were still nowhere near you coming. Grandpa went to the closest CVS or Walgreens, not sure which, to get us ice cream. I did pretty good managing with the pain of the contractions. We ate some ice cream. It was so good, but I ended up throwing it up, which made me sad, LOL. About midnight, I was laying in bed, and all of a sudden, my knee felt wet, and I was like, what the fuck? Grandpa asked me what was wrong, and I said my knee feels wet. So I stood up, and sure enough, I was leaking. Yay! My water has finally, officially broke, but now we are on the clock. We have 24 hours, and if you do not come on your own, we have to have a C-section because of the risk of infection. Now I'm excited, but also sad because my body is not cooperating and doing what it's supposed to do. So part of me thought we're going to end up in a C-section, which I did not want. Got 2 doses of the fentanyl to help with the pain of the contractions. Made it to about 1 a.m.-ish, and then begged for the epidural. Man, it hurt so much. I did everything I could to breathe through them, but it was too much. The anesthesiologist shows up probably about 2 a.m. He was talking to me and asking questions, but honestly, I don't think I heard a word he said. He handed me this form and told me to read and sign it. I took that as a joke because I couldn't focus worth a quarter, never mind trying to sign something. That stupid form didn't get signed till the next day. They sat me on the edge of the bed, and I was leaning over the food tray with Tiki Bear in front of me to be my focal point and hopefully keep me still. It felt like that man took for freaking ever. I had to be super still because he was putting the super long needle into my spine, and one wrong move could cause a lot of damage. But being still during a contraction was close to impossible. At one point, Grandpa said, "You gotta sit still, honey," and I snapped back at him and said I was trying. I really was trying. Once we got the epidural in and I could lay down, I went to sleep. I was wore out. I woke up about 4 a.m. feeling so much pressure. It feels like you have to poop, but you don't. The nurse asked if I wanted her to check to see how dilated I was, and I said no, because your dad wasn't here, and trying to get him up and back to the hospital would have been so hard. So I didn't want to know. That way I was able to act like it wasn't happening. But it was getting way worse and more intense and happening more often that I asked the nurse to check. She said we were at 9 centimeters. Oh my God. I was so excited. We were almost there. Almost time to push. Almost time to meet you. I woke Titi Bear and told her it was time to get your dad here. So she called him and Stephen back to back till we knew they were on their way. I was in pain and uncomfortable, but it was so worth it because we were almost there. Staff changed at 7. The day doctors came in to check me at 8 a.m. Said it was 9.5 centimeters, but there was still a small lick of cervix left on the right side. So they rotated me to put direct pressure on that area. Your dad made it. I was feeling so anxious and scared and so excited it was almost time. Our nurse started to prep the room for delivery. Watching her do that made it all so real all of a sudden. Never mind the pain, LOL. Oh my God, this is really happening. That is all I could think. 10 a.m. comes, and our nurse comes to check our progress and says we are now 6.5 centimeters. What the fuck? She looks confused, and now I'm angry, and your dad is angry. Titi Bear is sad. I literally said to her, what the fuck? This makes no sense. How? Was I always 6.5 centimeters, and the nurse and doctor this morning who checked me just idiots? What is going on? Now the pain is like 10 times worse. The pressure is killing me, and all I want to do is get up and move around, but I can't because I got this stupid epidural. That's exactly why I didn't want the epidural. Our nurse said she's going to go grab the OB team and have them checked. Paige, who put the balloons in for us, came back. She said she was confident in her chest, and her confidence made me feel better. She checked, and sure enough, it was 6.5. Now I'm in tears, crying. She tried to explain how this could have happened, but I could care less what she was saying in those stupid doctors' defense. As I'm trying not to completely break down, Paige starts talking about our options. She put in these 2 devices to measure my contractions and my heartbeat. The one for my contractions was to see if they were strong enough for pushing, and this device gave a more accurate reading than the ones I've been wearing. She said after 4 hours, if they were strong enough, something, and then after 6 hours, something else. I'm not exactly sure what she said. That's how out of it I was. At this point, it's nearly noon, and I'm starving. Didn't eat breakfast, and lunch was on its way, but because the possibility of a C-section was being tossed around, I couldn't eat. The reason we are now thinking about a C-section is because my water broke at midnight and started that 24-hour clock. So now, not only am I emotionally upset, in crazy physical pain, trapped in the bed, uncomfortable and tired, but now I'm starving too. I was so over the day. Grandpa fed me a handful of string beans, and I've been drinking my water. Between those few bites and water, I was actually satisfied. I just needed a little bit of something. Your Grandma Diane and Aunt Clarissa showed up at some point too. Well, time was passing very slowly. I was growing more and more uncomfortable and antsy. They didn't even make me wait 4 hours. They were back in 2 and said my contractions were more than adequate. They checked out in service and no change was made. I was devastated. Kate started talking about a C-section. She said that she wouldn't even throw that on the table if she thought we could get the baby out vaginally safely, but of course it was up to us. She asked if we wanted them to step out and give us a moment to discuss. With wet eyes, I said yes. And now I am crying. No holding back, crying, because it is not how I pictured it. I looked at your dad. I swear to you, in that moment, it was like everyone else, and all the noises disappeared. I said, so, C-section? And he said, yeah, it's time. I said, okay. I pushed the call button, and Paige and our nurse came back in. Paige asked how I was, with tears streaming down my face and a heavy heart. I said we're going to do the C-section. They said, okay, and then boom. It was like phone screen action because so much was going on to get me ready for surgery. They turned off the patrol music and said I could have one person in the OR with me. I asked your dad if he wanted to be in the room with me, and he said yes. Then him and your Grandma Diane went out for a cigarette. With my body starting to calm down about the Pitocin, I finally felt some relief. They came to shave and wash the area where they'd be making the incision. Soon after, they came to get me and bring me to the OR, but your dad wasn't back yet, and so I felt a little panicked. But our nurse said we had some time before he would come into the OR anyway, and she would make sure someone grabbed him. I started to tear up again. Your grandpa kissed my forehead, and off I went. I was so scared. I've never had surgery of any kind before. We got into this bright white room with bright lights. My breathing became fast and shallow, and my nerves were shot. They transferred me to the operating table and strapped me down. There was still so much going on around me, so many bodies and unfamiliar voices. I kept looking around as far as I could see, not sure if your dad was back yet, but I knew I didn't want to be in there alone. I looked to my right, and here comes this man in blue from head to toe. It was your dad. He sat down to the left of my head, wiped my tears away, and asked if I was okay. Then he asked if I was ready. I felt a sense of relief with him there. I felt more ready for them to start with him there. I was worried because of how distant he had been since we got there, that he'd have the same attitude in the OR, and I'd feel alone, even though he was physically there, but he really stepped up in that OR. They injected some medication to completely numb my whole body from neck down. I wasn't going to feel anything but pressure and pushing or pulling. They waited a few minutes and did some checks to make sure I was adequately numb. They poked me with a needle. And then they began. What felt like minutes later, the guy said, "Do you want to see your baby when she's out?" Of course I shook my head yes. The anticipation was killing me. He said he'll drop the blue cross when it's time. We were so close. I looked at your dad and asked him if he was ready. All I could see was his eyes, but that was enough for me to know he was smiling, and he said yes. It felt so weird. I could tell they were inside me because I could tell my body was being pushed and pulled, just like they said. It felt like they were playing tug of war with my body. It was truly an out-of-body experience because I felt it, but not really. The guy says, "Are you ready?" And bam, he dropped the blue cloth, and there you were. Sunday, May 26, 2019, at 3:01 p.m., my angel, my sweet girl was born. I put my hand up to the plastic to touch you, and I just cried. You were here. I could see you. I could hear you. They brought you over to the baby bed, and at this point, we were watching their every move. I couldn't take my eyes off of you. They told your dad he could go over to where you were. They did your measurements, and you were 7 pounds, 11 ounces, and 20 inches of perfection. He cut your umbilical cord. He looked so happy. I love your dad's smile as is, but that smile that he had was a new one. It was brighter or something, all because of you. They wrapped you up and handed you to him, and your dad walked over to me. Kind of jealous he got to hold you first. I started to tear again. He pushed you close to my head so I could feel you. My heart felt so full. They were closing me up, and I got sick. Trying to throw up, but only able to move your head to the side was hard. The guy monitoring me put a bucket there and wiped him out. I just remember not feeling right at all. Your dad tried to get the guy's attention because my stats were changing. My heart rate slowed, blood pressure and oxygen dropped, and I kind of fainted, just dozed off. My body crashed. The adrenaline from all the excitement was gone. The guy put the oxygen back on me, and everything started to level out and look better. Your dad was still concerned. Next thing I know, it's time to transfer me back to a regular bed. I wasn't really able to help this time around. I remember congratulating one of the doctors because I heard he was having twins. They positioned me and sat me, and there you were, right there on my chest, skin to skin. This is as close as we can be now. I had you in my arms, and I cried because you were real and really here. We went into a separate room where it was just me, you, your dad, and 2 nurses. I was so hungry, laughing but serious. The nurse didn't only let me take baby sips with apple juice because I got sick and fainted in the OR. It was time to feed you, and we decided we were going to breastfeed. The nurse helped me navigate, and we latched right away. The nurse was surprised, and I laughed and said it's because we were starving. I've been telling them all day we were hungry. At some point, I dozed off with you on my chest. Best feeling in the world. They took a picture, and it was definitely one of my favorites. I love that picture. About an hour had passed, and it was time to go to our postpartum room. We headed out, made a pit stop at our old room to get Grandpa and Titi Bear plus all of our stuff. It's crazy. You had been in my arms for an hour already. We got to our new room, settled in, and started passing you around. I just watched everyone look at you and hold you with so much love. You're the luckiest woman in the world. We love you, Jennifer Samaria Danya Green.